Hello and welcome to the Lab 7 Android phone-based IoT interaction with Node-Red and AWS IoT by Sharon and Santiago. We started this laboratory by installing Termux and the Termux API via the Google Play Store on our cell phone, as we are showing right now on the screen. This will take a couple of minutes. Once the installation has finished, we then proceed to upgrade the terminal and then manually install the Termux API. Once this is finished, we then proceed to install the core utils Node.js. And then we install the Node-Red. We then make our last installation of the Termux. This will be the yarn, and then we type yarn global add npm. Once we are done with all the required packets, we open a new terminal and we're going to type ifconfig to check our internet address. In this case it's .1.87. We are going to start the Node-Red. And then we can proceed to check the sensors on our cell phone. So if we type Termux sensor, we're gonna have a series of options. If we type .l, we're gonna have the list of available sensors. If we type the -a, we're gonna show all the sensors with the values. This consumes a lot of battery, so we cut it off rather quickly. If we add the option -a -n1, it displays one value for all the sensors, so only one reading instead of continuously reading. If we go for the -s option, it will filter the sensor that we want. In this case, we're going to select the light sensor. And it will display continuous values. We check really quick and our Node-Red is in fact running. You can also check the Node-Red on the web interface with the address that our phone has. It's gonna act as a server. So we type .1.87 on our browser and we can see that the Node-Red is in fact running. And then we are going to start with the procedure for AWS. What we're gonna do is log in to the terminal. And once it's running the AWS IoT, this is the screen that we were granted as the initial one. We then click on Get Started. And this is the main console that we're going to be using for the IoT. So we go to Secure, and we're going to start by creating a policy. So we give this policy a name. And for the action and resource ARN, we are going to type IoT star and star. We then click on allow and create. And there you go, we have our policy created. So the next thing to do is to register our device. We're gonna go to manage things, register a thing, and we are going to create a single thing. Again, we give the device a name, and we are going to also create a type. We add a little description. This is not mandatory, it's just for us to keep track. And we create the thing type. Next thing we're gonna do is create a group. So we scroll down, again define a name, once again the description is not mandatory, it's just for our track purposes, and we create thing group. Once this is done, we are all set. So next thing to do is to create a certificate. And this is going to take a couple of minutes to provide. So we're going to skip to the next thing. Next thing we're gonna do is export the values from the Node-Red to the AWS IoT. and we're going to start by importing a flow provided on the tutorial. As we can see, there are 7 nodes on this flow, and we're going to start modifying the provided flow. First thing is to replace the command by the command of the termux that we already seen to get continuous readings from a sensor. So we're gonna be using the light sensor once again. Then we're going to change the name of the sensor in the function block. And then we are going to link our AWS to our flow. This is done by getting our endpoint URL and pasting the value on the post block. We then proceed to upload the certificates we downloaded and the private key. Once this is done, we hit on deploy and we get the message successfully deployed. So we clean our debug and we can see on the bottom that we are seeing the message OK, trace ID and a number. You can also see that we are getting some type error. When the reading is not recognized, we are getting error messages, but it's not that it's not working, it's just that the reading was not good enough. So we go back to our AWS, and in order to show the output, we are going to subscribe to our topic. We go back to our Node-Red, select our topic, create it, and then we're going to start seeing the readings on the computer. And as you can see on the right hand side of your screen, the messages are also being noticed by the cell phone. As you can see on the screen, the device is sending continuous readings. So you can appreciate that to the right of light sensor, the date and time is changing. And this is the last step of the question 6. So we now move into the question 7. Question 7 is going to implement Thingsboard, that is another web interface. So we are going to be running our Thingsboard interface on top of an Amazon virtual machine, an EC2 virtual machine. So we start by creating an instance, as we already know how to do. For the next step, we're going to be making an extra instruction that we haven't done before. We want the EC2 virtual machine to be a server type. So in order to do this, we need to access it from the outside. So what we're going to do is change the security group, the inbound rules in the security group, and we're going to allow all traffic from outside. Once this is all said and done, we go back to our virtual machine and start installing the required software. So first we're going to be installing Java, checking that the version that we just installed is the running one, and then we can move on to install Thingsburg. As we can see, we have the latest version, and it's the actual one that's running. So we move into the next step, that is the Thingsburg service installation. First, we're gonna get the source code from GitHub, and then we are going to install the dev package that we got. Once we're done with this, next we need to create the database for Thingsburg. So we have two options, either a hybrid database or an SQL database. We're going to be doing the SQL as it has the minimum requirements in hardware. And once it's installed, we run it. We need to make a couple of adjustments on the PostgreSQL. So we're going to access that environment, and then we're going to define a password. Now that we have the password, we can exit the environment and go back to our virtual machine. We access the Postgres environment once again, and we create the database. We're gonna name it Thingsburg. Once the database has been created, we need to make some configuration changes. So we access the file that has the configuration and add a couple of lines that are denoted by the tutorial. We can also add an update memory option, and all we need to do is replace the password for the password we defined for the PostgreSQL, and then go back again to the virtual machine. We then again load the demo option, and what this is going to do for Thingsburg is define users and passwords so that we can access the interface and make some changes. Now that it's running successfully, we're going to start the service, and we can move to the browser interface to see the Thingsburg. we can access the things world by copying the IPv4 address, and remember to put HTTP before the actual address, and there you go. You can see the things world interface on the screen. In order to access it, we go with the provided user and password. In this case is the tenant, and we log in. Once we are in the things world, we are going to create a device. So we add a new device. This is going to be our sensor. It is not a gateway, so we don't select the option. And there you go, it's now created. So what we're now going to do in order to send the data directly from the Node-Red to the things world interface is we are going to change the post block, and instead of the URL of the AWS IoT, we're going to use the things world URL, and we're going to use the access token of the device to send the data to the correct device. We don't need any keys or certificates in this case, so we hit deploy once again, and we go back to the things world interface. We can see that it's displaying both the date time and the light sensor values that we are sending. We can select on either of those. We are interested in light, so we're going to go with the light sensor, and we can display the information on a graph. In this case, we're going to select a time graph, and we can also add it to the dashboard. So we click add to dashboard once we selected the appropriate graph, and there you go. We can now enter full screen, and we see that the device is sending information to the things world. So we obscure the sensor a couple of times to get 0, and there you go. Thanks for your time. See you on the next one.